Hi, my name is Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
James.
Mark.
We've just finished playing Paleo, which incidentally I think won the Kennerspiel, the German strategy game of the year this year. It's a cooperative game in which you get some tribes people. So I've got a scout here who has this skill, he's good at spying things, and an inventor who is good with tools. They also have a certain amount of health, so if you were to take 1, 2, 3 wounds, the third wound would kill them. You can see my inventor has already taken a wound. But you're working with the other people who have their own tribes people with their own skills. You see James has got some people who's very good at fighting, he's got these spear tools. And you are trying to make your mark on history before the elements kind of take you out. Effectively, if you can manage to build 5 pieces of this cave painting, you see you can gradually build it up and make a mammoth ultimately, then you win the game. Every time one of your people dies, you gain a skull. There are other ways of getting skulls as well, but if you get 5 skulls, you'll lose the game. So that's roughly what you're aiming for and what you're trying to avoid. Typically, it's like modular, so there are different modules. In this module, we were trying to survive the cold. We managed to build a warming fire in this one, actually, which helped. But we have to keep putting wood on the fire every round, otherwise we get a skull. And we also had to satisfy some wishes from the heroes. We had 4 heroes in this one, but Jula and Dark are remaining here. If we get a spear and some pelt, then we satisfy Darker's wish. And then when you get rid of it, you draw a secret card. There's a deck of these secret cards, but if you actually manage to complete this, then Darker joins your side, and you can see that James actually has Darker. So instead of then having to pay the penalty of 2 food here, per remaining wish, otherwise you get a skull, then you actually get a person who adds to your group and helps you out. You also have to feed your people. You need 1 food per person at the end of each round. So that's kind of what you're bearing in mind. But then in terms of playing the game, everybody has a deck of cards. We have the massive deck which gets split out into 3. And then on your turn, we sort of all do it simultaneously, you collectively look at the top 3 cards of your deck, at least the backs of those cards. You can see everyone looks at what they've got. And it gives you an idea of what's there. So mountains, maybe you had to find stone in the mountains. When you're at the campfire, typically you can craft things. I'll talk about that in a minute. By the river, maybe I'll find an animal that I can hunt for food. So you pick one, so let's pick the top one here, and then everyone simultaneously reveals it. They look at what they've got, and I've got a solitary mammoth. Oh, so for this I would need to have 4 spears, 2 eyes. I discard 2 cards. You discard cards off the top of your deck, and then I would get 4 food and a pelt, which would be great, except looking at my guys, I don't have any spears. I've got eyes, and in fact I've got a wolf that's helping me, which gives me another eye, so I've got the eyes I need, but I just don't have any spears. But James was pretty good at fighting, weren't you, James?
I've got 4 spears.
So he's got lots of spears, and one of the icons on here you see is a helping hands thing. So instead of doing one of these options, James could discard a card or 2 to get some food or wood, but if he helps me with this icon here, then he can basically contribute all the spears we need. So I would discard the cards here, they go away, and he helps me, and we get 4 food and a pelt, which obviously is going to help because we need food for these. We need food to feed our people, so you kind of add food onto this resource board here. You're collecting all the resources. Other things you can do, in fact Mark had a forest card, so he kind of goes off into the forest, and if he's got tools he can get quite a lot of wood. If you just flip over the campfire card, Mark, you can see this one typically allows you to craft things. So you might be able to make spears, for example, if you spend a wood and a stone, which help with fighting. That's why James is so good at fighting. You can discard a stone to get some tools, some wood to make a torch, which is helpful for spying things. So there's lots of things you can craft. You get these ideas cards as well, which you can draw sometimes from the campfire, which gives you additional things you can make. Oh, we could make a rope by discarding some wood. So they're quite helpful. You can also, with the campfire cards, get extra people. So you draw off the people deck, and this is... oh, it's a hunter. He comes with a spear. The problem is that each time you get a new person, they need feeding. So that's an extra food you've got to pay at the end of each round. So each time you take a turn, you're drawing one of the top 3 cards of the deck, and you keep playing until you get through all the cards. And then we have to satisfy all the various things. So you feed your people, you pay your wood for this card, etc. Some cards are bad. In fact, I don't have any bad cards. Have you got any red hazard cards to show those quickly? There we go. So if you ever have to discard one of these, you take a wound. But if you don't want to discard it, you have to face it. And in this case, you're lost. Oh dear. If you've got an eye and you discard some cards, then you have a dream. You get these dream cards added to your deck, which can be quite good. Oh, we've discovered some ancient knowledge. Excellent. But if you can't achieve the resources it requires, then you're just going to take a wound. So you take a wound and add it to a character, and as I say, if you add enough to cover this skull, the character dies, and you get a skull. So we got very close to winning this game, but unfortunately we did actually manage to get our 5th game and didn't manage it. So yeah, as I say, you either get your 5 bits of painting and you win, or 5 skulls and you lose. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Was nice and easy to pick up. There's plenty of interesting decisions to make without it being overwhelming. I would struggle to say based off a first play how much replay there's going to be in it. It's kind of modular scenarios, so yeah, I think it's definitely something I'd be interested in playing again. I'd have to see whether it kind of became a favourite or just need to dabble now and then.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I think I'm a little torn this one because I do like the different scenario. The fact there is different scenarios. They do have some variation. I'm not sure what level of variation there is based on the ones I've played, but there is some variation. I like the fact that you can give people helping hands. I think that increased the level of cooperativeness in the game. I think the game, as a game that's crafted, is very well done. I can see why it won at the level of complexity compared to the game that you're getting. It is good. It doesn't massively catch me. It's my biggest issue. I think I find it fine. It doesn't super grab me at any point. I get a feeling that this is a game, and Jonathan's probably confirmed, that you will feel better the more you play the same scenarios to try and beat it. So you start on scenario number 1. If you win, that's great. If you don't, you play it again. Because you'll learn the decks, and I think you'll get better at that specific scenario to some extent. And as a group, if you do that, that'll make a much more fun experience. As a standalone thing, I don't think it's as good. So I think it depends almost how you're going to play it in the end.
Rating?
So rating based on only of playing this standalone, I'd give it a 6.5. But I think it'd be better if I played it with the same group and tried to play through the whole thing.
Okay. James?
See, I think I'd go the other way. I'd probably give it a 7.5 based on a first playing, but I'd be worried that it would be a game you could just solve eventually, and you get to the point where it's no longer a challenge because you just know all the decks, know all the cards. But then, given that it's just won the Kennerspiel, I assume there's an expansion coming soon.
Okay. I've played this a lot. I've played through all the scenarios, all the recommended combinations of the different modules and things. There's quite a lot you can play. It's like 10 modules, I think, in the game, and you can combine 2 of them each time you play. So lots of variability there. I very much agree with what Mark said. As a standalone, the first time I played this, I was like, it's okay. And I think I will be on a similar kind of 6.5 out of 10. But the more I've played this, playing through like the campaign, if you like, they have increasing difficulty of scenarios, the more I've enjoyed it. In terms of what James was saying, when you play them, even if you know the deck well, like as Mark said, if you played it and you lost, you want to play it again, which I definitely had to do a few times. You know what could be out there, but one interesting thing is you never know what's on the other side. You look at a mountain card at the back and you think, oh, probably I'm going to get stone. But you flip it over, it might be stone, it might be an animal, it might be a dream, it might be a hazard. Like, you might be rocks fall on your head or something. So you just never quite know. So although you can kind of plan and say, yes, I think this is what's going to happen, each time you go through the deck, it's a surprise. You're trying to learn, or what resources do I need to deal with this particular hazard or that encounter, and gradually the more you play it, the better you get. So that voyage of discovery, if you like, I've really enjoyed. I've had a great time playing through the campaign, and I'd highly recommend it, particularly 2-player, if you want to play it through it with a favourite friend. I had a great time, as I say, playing through all the campaign. So doing it that way, I'd be on an 8.5 out of 10. Fantastic. But yeah, as a standalone, it's okay. So, see what you think. Alright, thanks for watching. That was Paleo.